Here to keep the chase going, share information, spread unity, preserve our heritage and our culture. We're trying to achieve something that you just can't catch. We're always trying to find a better way, trying to make better dogs. That's what Dixie Doggers Podcast is. That's who we are. All right, everybody. Joey and Nate here. Got the Dixie Doggers Podcast coming back to you.
Yes, indeed.
Doing it one more time. We got a guest with us tonight who is a Bulldog guy. A little bit different. Not very many times do we have anybody on that deals with a lot of Bulldogs in the hunt scenarios and other scenarios and stuff because of such a touchy subject with a lot of people. So this guy's from Florida. His name's Andrew Stone. He's got Stone Grove Bulldogs. So without further ado, Mr. Andrew, how you doing?
Doing well, man. Appreciate y'all for having me on.
Oh, no.
I like the little chat we had before. You guys seem super cool, man. Honest dog, man.
Well, it's what we try to be. It's what we all need to be.
Right.
Without a doubt. So, well, give us a rundown who you are and where you're from and all that good stuff.
Yeah. I was born and raised in Miami. I got into the dogs down there when I was in my early 20s. And I started in protection work. Are you guys familiar with Schützen at all?
Yes.
Okay. So I got into Schützen, and that's a herder-dominated sport, Malinois and German Shepherds. And I was more of a fancier of like the bigger, like Mastiff type dogs, the Presses and things like that. But I never owned one. And I finally got one, and I started bringing it to training, and the dog sucked. He couldn't do anything that he was supposed to do. And I was on the internet and I did all the research, and then like this dog bites and his parents bit, and when you're new to it, it all looks the same to you, And you can't weed out the good from the bad. Everything just looks the same. And so I brought them out, and eventually they're like, hey, and I could see it because I was a decoy at the time too. I'm actually certified to work trials and everything.
Cool. And
I was like, yeah, this ain't gonna work. And so I went down the rabbit hole, and I still wanted an off breed. I like the off breeds, and I ended up, long story short, with a bulldog, an American bulldog, and she came from a long line of working dogs, but like actual like titled dogs and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hooked. She did everything the Malinois did. And I could bring her anywhere and not be ashamed of her. Every decoy, every handler, like, oh, that's a nice dog. They didn't care that it was a bulldog, that it wasn't her. She was just a nice dog. And from there, that's when I started learning more about the Bulldogs and what they can do and their capabilities and things like that. And I started looking into the hog hunting, and I was like, well, I kind of want to check this dog on the hog. I want to see if I wanted to see if she was a bulldog. And my first hog, we found a little hog, put on a little hog, and then her first real hog was after that. It was about a 300-pound hog, and we threw her right into a pen with it, and something clicked in my mind. Then I'm like, I was more scared than she was,
Damn.
I was worried. I was like, this is gonna go bad. Like, that's a big animal. I hadn't had the experience, and I was like, she's just not like that, and she was just like that. I mean, she got opened up, and she was just with it. And ever since then, I've been hooked, and it's all been downhill from there.
Sweet. That's I think that's the story with a lot of us. Is we all started out, and then once you get in it, man, you just get hooked.
For sure.
It's like a drug, a lot of action there.
Yeah.
Now
you start going down the rabbit hole of pedigrees, and then you start meeting people, and the next thing you know, you got 10 dogs on your yard, and you're like, how did this happen?
Yeah, it gets there quick too, man. Very, very quick.
Yeah.
So with being in the protection side of stuff like that, you still do that a good bit, or?
Yeah, I mean, so
just from time to time. Or?
Yeah, I moved up to Tallahassee. I'm in North Florida now. About 5 years ago, and all my hog hunting and sport work and protection work connections were down in Miami. So when I moved up here, I met people and I met dogmen up here, but it's not the same. There was there's far more sport and protection work in South Florida. Like it's not even close. Up here, there's nothing. I have people drive 2 hours and one way 2 hours to come train with me just because there's nobody around that does it.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and there's little people here and there, but nobody's actually like going out there and trialing and doing it at a higher level. And I was never super high level, but I can take a dog into the beginning of it before they got to go find a club that's what they eat, sleep, and drink, you know?
Yes.
And so I do train from time to time protection work. I still, I breed dogs, so I still need to make sure that they can do what they're supposed to do before I breed them. And I have some people that I just, enjoy the company, and I have them come by and we'll work dogs. And it's not like it used to be.
I got you. Do you know Yohani Gomez?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, I do know Yohani. Y'all know each other from American Bulldogs? Or?
Well, not American Bulldogs. I know him about them. Like, I think I first met him when did I first meet Yohani? Oh, we were at a dog show. He was coming over here catching.
It was
he was working.
That Lily was in.
Yeah. Well,
he was the judge of the call.
Yeah, they had a dog show, and then they did an exhibition with some bite work, and Lisa was telling him about my dog, and he was like, "Well, I'd like to see it," and we brought her out, and he was impressed with the performance, and so we talked about it for a little while and hung out, and I've got quite a few dogs on my yard from Yohani.
No way.
Yeah, he called me a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and he's fixing to have surgery again. And
I did see that.
Yeah, he's fixing to have surgery again, and he was looking for a little small dog, little whole dog. We messed with a lot of York Terriers and Patterdales. And so, and that's what I told him. He was like, if you know anybody, I was like, hey, you already know. You ain't got to go look for nothing. It's sitting right here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's my guy right there now.
That's super cool. Yeah, Yohani. So I met Yohani a handful of times. But when I got into dogs, I mean, Yohani was still dogging, but I think he had moved at that point out of Miami. I think he was in
Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia.
Yeah, he had just moved up to where he would. I was trying to think, man, it's been so damn long ago now. Anyway, yeah, he had moved up to Georgia.
Right, yeah, and so, but I before I met him, I heard his name 100 times because every bulldog you run into in Miami knows him. The community is small there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know I never heard a bad thing about him.
No, he's the guy now. Like I said, he
got us one time real good with some Airedales. He said I got a couple, and then he brought us 6, and the smallest one was 90 pounds.
Yeah, there was
one male that was like 115, like 120.
It's the biggest ones I've ever seen. I brought 8 home.
Yeah, it was 8.
He said I got a couple. He said, are you wanting a pair? I was like, because he knew I already had some. I was like, yeah. He was like, well, look. He said, just use them, see if you like them. If you do, let's do some breedings. And then, hit me back. I was like, okay. So I go over there and pick them up. When I get there, it's just like a yard full. I was like, bro. He just started laughing. He was like, load them up. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But he had to make some room at the time. You know how it gets when you're in the public eye like that. You can't have but so many dogs at a time.
I get it.
And he was and it was where he lived at. That's all it was.
Right.
No big deal. And I've still got some of that blood still only around. I think there's 1 in Mississippi and 2 in Georgia. And
what do y'all use them for?
I was using them. I mean, I ran some straights for a little while, but I was crossing them. I crossed them with bull terriers and then with York Terriers. And we would work that breed back and forth to recreate like the Hide Terrier, but just an Americanized version.
So funny you say Hide Terrier. I've been trying to practice doing AIs. I've seen it done, a handful of times, but I've never done it myself. And I'm like, man, I want to be proficient at this. So I've AI'd a few dogs around me, and we actually AI'd Miles's Jag on one of my bulldogs the other day. And I'm like, that might make something Hide Terrier-ish,
Yeah.
It was just for fun. I purposely did it after her window, but if it takes, it'd be cool. I was just getting the practice in, you know?
Oh yeah, ain't nothing wrong with that. Like
Yeah,
we've done the Yog Terrier Bulldog crosses, and we crossed
right,
them with some really hot game dog stuff, and they were really hot pups for sure.
right.
With the hides, they like when the original stuff they used the Bull Terrier, the Airedale, and the Yog Terrier, and then later on, you can't breed but so much, and then you have to have
Right,
an outcross somewhere,
for sure.
in those lines, and they would like every so often. I mean, like generations, they would add like either an Irish Terrier, and then they started adding some Milano.
Okay,
So that's pretty much all that I've seen that's in that recipe. Me, myself, I said, no, I won't have nothing but what the original recipe was. And that's where I had some disagreements with a lot of people. And like Josh Neff
right.
and a few other guys, they'll tell you, like, I want him, if it's not a certain way, we're not even going to talk at all, period. Like,
Yeah,
they're like, well, you just got to see it from my point. Nope, that's not it. It's not how it is.
right.
This is how the
You
dog
like
is.
what you like.
No, that's how the dog is. That's the recipe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like here's the recipe for the dog.
Yeah.
And then
That's how they started it in 1971.
when the
okay.
guy that took over the line and revived it, he done the exact identical thing. And everything that I've been saying for all these years, Josh interpreted his literature, and it's just like I wrote it. I didn't write it,
Right,
but it looked like I did. And once I seen that, I was like, oh, so it's not
Yeah.
anybody overseas. It's some people here who are trying to do these different type of breedings. And now that was years and years ago before anybody, like I only knew maybe 2 or 3 people that even knew what a hide terrier was at all,
right.
and now of course they're getting more popular, which we were talking to Josh earlier, Josh Neff, he had just got back from Germany with one, and it's going to be some really nice stuff.
You get it from Arnie?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he went and got it. Was that little male he got? Did he get it from Arnie?
Can't remember.
I don't remember. He told me who it was. I can't remember. It was this morning when he told me. Because it's like 4.5, 4 months old, brindled up, nice looking pup. He said it's
yeah,
already like 40 pounds. But see, that's the Alano that they're putting in them to put that size. I didn't add anything like that at all on mine. Like I said, and I'm not bragging by no means. Dude, it was more trouble than it was ever worth. I'm telling you, it was a pain in the ass. For 10 years to try to produce something that was 50 to 60 pounds
yeah.
out of breeds that are, none of them are that big really, except the Dale.
Right.
And just to find a good working Airedale, oh my God. I mean,
Especially here in the States, I can't imagine there's many of them.
there's a few, but I got lucky. The ones I got, and I don't even need to take any credit for it, because it was the guys that I was hunting with that started all this. I just fell in there with it. And then when everybody got out of their hunting, I just kind of kept it going. And then, so I was like, well, I'm going to produce this. And I put, I guess, probably close to 15 years in it now, 12, 13 years anyway. And the last litter that we had, that we produced, was 1 out dogs. You could take one dog, push him out, and he'll do anything and everything. You didn't need no other dog.
We'll be back after a quick break.
And now, thanks to the sponsors and friends of Dixie Doggers. Animal Housing Solutions.
Boars N Broads.
Crockett Taxidermy.
Hardcore Hog Dogs.
Southern Cross Cut Gear.
Ada Y Transport.
4L Kennels.
The American Doghorn Museum.
Unique Hounding Hunting Supply.
Hogbaying.com.
Tuskers Magazine.
Mud Creek Hog Dog Trials.
And with all that terrier, they're still rangy dogs, or do you kind of run them a little different?
No, the range, there was no stopping them. Like my York Terriers. Everybody talks about Jags not having range. Mine don't. Mine will roll. I'm talking about they will hunt no sign. They'll hunt a mile deep.
That was the problem. They'd get out
Yeah,
there and they'd
like-
get ornery with one.
Yeah, but they're not going to bay nothing at all though.
yeah,
They're
rough.
crazy. But like I said,
there's a big disparity though in Jags. Like,
oh yeah,
I feel like a lot of people have that like reckless, like almost game dog like Jag,
yeah,
and then people have like the ones that are, you know, like they bay more often. They're a little, I guess, smarter.
mm-hmm.
But then you have breeders that's what they like, and
Yeah.
I don't know what's right or wrong, but I guess it depends your hunting style.
Yeah, and
But
that's
they
the
seem very
thing.
different across the board.
Yeah, and that's the thing because we twist it around to fit what we want here in the U.S., and that's not where the dog was created.
Right.
You know, so honestly, if we got to go by standards, they need to bark on track. They need to do all these things. Like I've been with the American Hunt Terrier Association since it started, and
Mm-hmm.
go to all these field trials. I'm sitting in a room right now in our studio, and I got totes and boxes and plaques and trophies all the way up the walls. And now here's the thing: the stuff that we won with them were dogs that had never even done any of that. Like all they ever did was hog hunt. We would win.
Natural.
Yeah, they're very versatile. They could do it, but I never put them in that situation. And
Right.
and like you said, it's the interpretation of what we're doing with them. What
Mhm.
works for the next guy doesn't work for me. A dog that's
Yeah.
going to bark a lot and bay a lot won't work where I'm at. I'm
Mhm.
sure it would for somebody, but it doesn't for me, and that's me being selfish. So we have a line of dogs that has been bred for, Scott All started the Dixieland line 40 years ago now. And then I took over the Dixieland line over a decade ago. And these dogs are more laid back. They're not as kamikaze style. They are rough dogs, but they have long range. We breed the biggest dog to the biggest dog every single time.
Mhm.
You know, anything that's under a certain size, it's automatically out of the gene pool.
Y'all need a bigger dog.
That's what we like. More leg.
Yeah.
The biggest problem everybody had with York Terriers were they're not big enough. I've got full-blooded Jags that are 40 pounds consistently.
It's a big animal.
Yeah.
Right,
And like Oscar's 42 pounds. He's in North Carolina right now, rigging bear.
Impressive.
Yeah, he's a stud. And I don't even hunt him that much anymore because I went more with the high terrier style. And they were too rangy for some areas that we hunted. So I had to back it up. It's like I never can get it right. It's perfect for one spot, but sucks for the next. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
It's one of those deals. I want to. Me and Josh have been talking a lot. Me, him, and Nate, and we're all going to network. We're going to do some stuff, and we'll send you some shaggy dogs.
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know if I need more dogs on my yard.
Oh yeah,
but I
you gotta
appreciate it.
have one. You gotta have something that's. You gotta have one that comes out there and you're like, damn, that dog sucks. You know what I'm saying? And then all your dogs will be wonderful. Then you look at this piece of shit over here and you be like, damn, I should have never got that one. All right, man. Look, we don't talk about that. Let's get back on your business over here.
Yeah.
All right. So on these dogs that are like you said, you don't run any full-blooded like game dog style stuff. What kind of crosses are you pushing that you like to work with?
So I run like an American Bulldog, big pit game dog cross, like the classic XL dogs, not the newer stuff that's real squatty, but the old school big dagger dogs. They look like giant game dogs.
Yeah, and they've been proven, like they really have.
Right. Yeah. I wasn't around for that. I can tell you the male that I used was a good dog. But I do hear the stories from the people before me that were around the dogs. It's like, man, those dogs work.
Yeah, like there's several guys down in like there's a guy or two over in Mississippi that have used the bigger game style dogs. Those dogs have a lot of game blood in them, but they're just big dogs too. And hey, I'm gonna tell you, some of them dudes they will get it.
Rough,
they bad dudes. Some of them are just too much dog. I'll be honest. If you think you got a 45 pounder that's just a hell of a machine, get you a 75 pounder like that.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's why my dogs are my dogs, and they're not for everybody. And the reality is that I like protection work, and as a decoy, I like the dog that beats me up, that punishes me. Because the small dogs, they can be the best dog you've ever worked in your life, but I would forget about them because they weren't memorable. But when a 70, 80 pounder would get on you and crush you, and just you hate working the dog, and it's like, that's what I want to breed,
Yeah, because I mean, if something grabs a hold of me, and it's one of your big dogs, and then I got this Chihuahua grabbing me, I'm going to remember that big dog. I promise.
Right.
You know?
And I'm wearing a suit and I'm protected because if a 40-pound bulldog grabs my leg, I won't forget that either.
Yeah.
But it's just part of the sport and the protection where maybe it's a pride thing. I don't know. I like beating up decoys. I used to like to get beat up, so it is what it is.
Well, there's something wrong with y'all.
Yeah, for sure.
As a whole,
but,
I mean, every one of y'all.
You're a dog man too, so there's something wrong with you too. Ain't no dog man is right in the head.
No, listen, I put
Touche.
I said, you know what? I told Johanna, I was like, give me that jacket. Let me show you how to do this. Let me tell you something. Hell no. That Belgian grabbed a hold of my ass. No, it was a Dutch Shepherd. Grabbed my damn elbow, had me on the ground, rolling around, and I was laughing. Johanna, he's like, yeah, you're going to like this, Primo. I was like, no. I said, because I don't need no other problems. Like, I'm already messed up enough. And
so the big dogs are also, we use them in the woods.
Yeah.
But they're also a pain in the ass in the woods because to get one of them off a hog is not fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you got a 75-pound dog and you got to break him off a hog and you're tired and he's tired and the hog's fighting and you're smacking off other cur dogs, it's not fun. And then to have him drag you through the woods. So, but I don't know. I love it. I have a love for it, and that's why I breed the style of dog I breed. That's what I enjoy, and it's not for everybody. And I don't think it makes sense for a lot of people, but some people love it too.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like we were talking about a while ago with the terrier stuff. It's your individualism. That's your dogs are going to reflect that upon yourself. Because as a catch dog or having a catch dog, I like mine to have a handle. I don't want them pulling and getting too much and all that stuff. And I found that most big dogs are a lot harder to handle. And so if I have an actual catch dog, we run a lot of running catch dogs. So we're not really turning them loose, but in the past year or so, we've went back to bay dogs and walk-in catch dogs. I do like one that doesn't pull, and I tend to lean more toward the smaller dogs for whatever reason. Like I said, it's something to do with each one of us personally. And I know some guys that, like you said, they've got dogs they're monsters. They're hard to handle, and they love them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, having to utilize your dogs for both sides of the fence, protection and catch dogs, how important is it to have? Because, like I know, protection dogs, they got to have a good handle on them. A good switch. So how do you incorporate all that, or how do you not incorporate it?
So my dogs, a lot of people too get the misconception that my dogs are man eaters. And can I point one of them at you? And I have certain dogs that would kill you. Yes, but they're doing it the same way that your bulldog looks at a hog. It's purely out of their joy for combat. It's not because they're nasty dogs. I don't like the nasty animal. And there's not one dog in my yard that's a nasty animal. And the temperament I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
I can grab one of my. Now there's one dog you can't take off the chain because he's too high strung and he will put his mouth on you. But if I take him off the chain and I'm walking down the street and you walk by me, he won't key up on you. Like you can walk right now. He doesn't care about you. Now if I point him at you and ask him to, then it's a fight, and he loves to fight.
Yeah.
So that's the style. That's the style of animal that I like. They're not mean dogs per se.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know where I was running with that. What was the question?
Oh, we're just talking about the handle part of it. Yeah.
So as far as a handle, maybe they need less because they're that type of dog. They're not a mean animal.
Mm-hmm.
They're less of a liability in that sense. but I guess it just depends what you're doing. You know, to be honest with you, the dogs that I have right now, they're kind of just chain dogs and breeders, and they'll do the bite work, and they'll catch the hogs, but they don't have much of a handle. My house dog, she had the most training into her, and she died recently. She was all trained up, and she listened, and she would out when I asked her to out. And these dogs, not so much. You know, I don't put in time into them like I used to.
Yeah, I got you.
So is it important? Yeah, it's important. But you know, they can get by without it. The same way a catch dog can get by without a handle. Now, is it a pain in the ass? Absolutely.
Yes.
But you know, you got the catch dogs that go out there and catch you, break them off, and that's it. You throw them in a box, and you just the only handle is, hey, shut up, because I don't want you screaming in the box, and don't keep your mouth to yourself. Don't put it on anybody else. You know, and that works.
Oh yeah, it works. I know people that's the way they want their dogs, and they feel that if you put more handle on it, you'll take something out of the dog. And I mean, I'm not saying they're wrong or they're right. It works for them, so it's great.
I feel like it depends because a lot of people like putting a handle on the dog. They think that means beating it into submission. No. And I feel like that's the way a lot of them take that hunt out of them, is because they don't know how to put a handle on the dog. Yeah,
that's the thing too, is knowing how to put the handle on. Because
dogs are like kids. Like some dogs can take a whooping and they're fine, and some they're not going to hunt for the rest of the day now.
That's exactly right. And that's we see that we hunt with a multitude of people, and I've seen every color of the rainbow with them. But the majority, but I'll be honest, the majority of the people that we've been around in the past few years, none of them really have to whoop their dogs or anything like that. It's the dogs are already trained. They've already got a handle on them. You know, they've already done that. They've already put in the time and the work. And I've been with some that, like we had a little dog last year. I sent him to Carter and them, started using him for a catch dog. Like we didn't train this dog at all. We didn't do anything. Turn him loose, showed him a hog, turn him loose. He goes in there. The dogs were baying it. He catches it. I go over there and pet him on the head, and he lets go, sits down, doesn't bark, doesn't try to grab the hog, doesn't do anything. He just sits there. I was like, well, damn, that was pretty easy. And he done that about 25 times straight. I was like, dude, this is ridiculous.
We sit there,
he doesn't pull on the lead, nothing. Perfect.
Is that a pure game dog? Or
hell no.
Nah, that's a side of the road special.
Exactly. That's exactly right. That's what I think. Say now. It also depends. Right. I mean, because this dog, it looks like it literally has some American Bulldog or something in it.
He looks like American.
He's probably 65, maybe 62, somewhere in there. He's 60 pounds or so. I hadn't weighed him, but anyway, he just had the most natural temperament for it. I mean, if dogs would do that, that's all I would have. Just nothing but those type dogs. And then I got another dog that's maybe 40 pounds, and you can't hardly control it.
Right.
You know, but he catches.
I like the depth. I like the depth in an animal. You know, I'm a dog fancier, man. I just appreciate dogs, and I appreciate dogs that work well with what they're designed to do. So I don't. Even though it's more practical, like I don't enjoy watching a bulldog that I can pet on the head and he lets go. Like no other reason than I don't appreciate it.
Oh no, hey, listen, I get it 100%.
Right.
I've raised Patterdales and dog terriers for 20 years. You don't pet them, you can hit them with a hammer. I promise you, they ain't letting go. I don't give a fuck what it is. They ain't letting go. But having a catch dog that'll just be like, okay, let go, buddy. And I mean,
no, it's nice.
It's nice. It's like I said, I gave him to somebody else. You know what I'm saying?
You're right.
Yeah, I let somebody else have him because they didn't want a dog that was too wound up, keyed up, and wanted to pull and drag and all that stuff. And so it worked out great.
We got a mixed breed one, old Mean Gene, right now.
Yeah,
that's someone that gets keyed up.
He's about three-quarter. He's about three-quarter pit and a quarter cat, and he's a lunatic.
Like good dog though.
Shit, yes sir.
Yeah.
He's about what,
he's
40,
a hard little dog.
40. Oh yeah, he's so hard, man. He'll bust the vessels in his eyes every catch. You gotta break him off, man. I'm talking about like I'll put
He
it
just
this
wants
way.
to bite stuff.
Oh yeah, if you ain't got him clipped up on the box, he'll be hanging on a tree limb.
Oh yeah,
While
he's wired.
you riding down the road, that son of a bitch will grab a tree limb and
Yeah.
just be hanging, son.
Yeah, he's wired, man.
And he is actually colored up like the prettiest patchwork Catahoula you ever seen, but looks like a little meathead game
He's
dog.
a little Merle looking bulldog. He
Yeah.
looks like a sin.
I was like, well, this right here be like one of those. Well, now that's a lot of people breed those Merle colored bulldogs. I don't know how that.
You know, that just goes to show how far and how strong the game blood is. A little bit of game dog can add a lot to a dog.
Shoot, yes.
Yes.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Now, on that part right there, like we were just talking about, one of our
Mhm.
topics we were going to discuss was, what do you look for in a dog? So, I mean, like, if you were going to get a dog, say not even breeding and raising one, if you were going to come to buy a dog from someone, what would you be looking at?
All right, so it depends on the breed, but I have a baseline. I do not like nervy, skittish dogs, and I don't care how good they hunt. I don't care how great they are. They bother me.
Yes, sir.
So if I'm looking at pups, now if you hand me and you say, "Hey, Andrew, here's this Catahoula. He's skittish, but he's gonna find you a hog wherever you go," I'm gonna take him and happily feed him.
Mm-hmm.
But if I grab a puppy, I'm not touching that skittish puppy. I want the puppy that's confident, that that doesn't shut down when you bring them into a weird spot, and that's just baseline for any dog that I touch anywhere, no matter how much bred.
Gotcha.
Now, for like when I'm say breeding and selecting and things like that, there's a lot of little things that a lot of people wouldn't care about that I like, and I think part of it goes because a lot of people handle my dogs, and I don't do much training like I used to, but a lot of people that get my dogs do train them and do compete with them. So food drive is a big one for me. I don't breed dogs with low food drive. You got to be able to eat a full meal, and then if I grab a handful of kibble, that you will do anything for that kibble. You'll sit, you'll lay down, you just get excited to eat.
Mm-hmm.
So on my yard, you won't see a dog. You can't free feed any of my dogs because they'll turn into blimps.
Yeah. Yeah. And that seems that now with you having that much experience in that, does it, when dogs are that keyed up over that, they seem to be just a higher drive dog in general, correct?
Well, yeah, I've met dogs. It's funny because I met a lot of pure game dogs that are extreme in the drive, like in prey, and they're workaholics, but they have no food drive.
No food drive. Okay.
Right. So it doesn't come hand in hand. I don't think that runs hand in hand, because I've seen plenty go both ways,
Yeah. And that's what I was probably meaning more along the hunting dog lines and stuff instead of the game dogs. But like with the game dog stuff, that's just a whole different animal anyway.
Right.
Like they can be the best at everything or have the worst attributes depending on how they're bred up, who handled them.
Right.
I guess any dog's kind of like that, but it just seems like the game stock has always caught the worst rap for it because they're so extreme.
And I haven't had a lot of experience with like good hunting, like strike dogs and stuff like that I've personally fed. I've been around a lot of great dogs.
Gotcha.
I spent a lot of time in South Florida. I spent a lot of time in the woods with my buddy. I mean, you probably at least know of his clothes, but his name is Alex. He runs the Best Camel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we spent a lot of time in the cane. He actually had a catch dog from me. And he'll if you ever talk to him, he'll tell you best catch dog he's ever had. And he's had some good dogs, good strike dogs, like Cuban dog, bird dog type crosses.
I called him a couple months ago about a little Cuban dog that we acquired.
Okay.
And he was the only one I could think of that would know about the Cuban stuff right offhand. Was
the dog ugly?
Yeah.
Like, would you call the Cuban dog you had ugly?
No. I don't know.
Well, then if it wasn't ugly, it wasn't a pure Cuban dog.
I was going to say, it's in the eyes of the beholder, because I
This
like
one's
the
a
bird dog. I just want to say, to most people, yeah, it's gonna be ugly.
All
To
right.
me, they're so ugly.
Then it
they
might be a pure Cuban. Then it might be a pure Cuban dog because them jokers are ugly.
It's got the ears are cut on the top corners.
Okay.
It's ticked up, looks like a bird dog. Got a
Yeah.
deep chest. It's longer body. I'm lean, a machine. 4.5, 5 months old. We showed it a little bit of business, and it went to work. I'm talking about went to work real quick.
It sounds like a Cuban dog.
Yeah.
So I run with a bunch of Cuban dogs with Alex, man, and So, but me personally, I always end up with, because I don't spend enough time in the woods to make a dog, so I always end up getting started dogs and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I always end up with somebody's blackmouth cur. I don't know, man. Those dogs kind of suck, but I always end up with one.
I've got a couple of blackmouth cur young dogs right now that are. Well, they're fire. They're game. Like they're not baying nothing though. Like they ain't baying nothing.
I mean, I find them to be rough. I just don't find them to be like that one out dog, like where they're gonna jump something and run it. And they always seem like help dogs and real rough running type test dogs.
Yeah,
that's just my experience.
No, you're right, because everyone that I had that was from our the southeast area. That's kind of what we ran into. And then I got these from North Texas in Weatherford, Texas, and these are a whole nother deal. Like you kicked them out. First time we carried Jughead actually hunting, him and his brother, they hung a 240-pound boar hog by their set, just bam, right there. I was like, damn, they didn't even know what to do, but they figured it out real quick. So I couldn't complain about them.
I think in South Florida, it's part of it's the hunting style.
Yeah.
Like, you get into trouble poaching over there quick. You always start off hunting and end up poaching.
Yeah.
So the real rangy dogs, a lot of people don't like to run because it gets them into trouble, things like that. And I feel like you inadvertently breed the drive out of them. Yeah. And I could see that. That's part of the reason. Yeah, it's part of the reason they are what they are. But those Cuban dogs, they who knows what the obvious influence is bird dog. They obviously have a heavy influence bird dog, and I've never seen a flat bird dog.
Oh yeah, that's like I said. That's what I've been interested in them for a few years, and we had the opportunity to grab one, and so we jumped on it. And I guess it'll probably be put in rotation here in the next month or so. She's getting about the right age for to start getting her some reps in, and because I mean, like during deer season we slow down, we don't completely shut down, but we don't hunt as much, and then like in February it'll get back wide open. So by February she'll surely be ready, for sure, because she's about 6 months old now, and so it makes sense. Yeah, it's time to get her start going. I don't want to get her. At least haul her in the box, get her familiar with the other dogs, things like that. And then once we start in the hunting aspect of it, it'll be totally different. My method's probably different than a lot of people's. I don't put young dogs with old dogs. Very seldom do I ever do that. Generally, I put the young dogs by themselves, and they just got to work. They got to figure it out. You
don't want them like leaning too much on the older dog.
No, I do not want them to depend on the older dog for nothing. Because if the older dog, we lose it or it gets killed, I got to have another dog that can step up and take that and go. And and that's my personal preference. And there are times where we have put young dogs with older dogs just because it's almost like you could tell they're not going to be the independent, go yonder, real hard, long range strike dog. They're going to be more of a help dog or a me too dog. So, and we need that in a pack, in a pack mentality.
Sure.
And so we do utilize that with certain ones. We put Nathan's Catahoula last year out by himself, and at 9 months old, he found his first ones. At 10, 11 months old, he was lead dog. This year he has found, I don't know how many. Miles has hunted with him. I mean, you kick him out right now and he'll go find you a hog. He's just now what I call starting to become a hog dog. He's still got a long ways to go. He's almost 2 years old now, and we got a Kimmer cur that's right there with him. That Kimmer is starting to really get out there. He's hunting a mile deep and no sign.
Wow, it's impressive. Yeah. Let me tell you, I will say, I had a black one. She was a bend dog, papered up Weatherford bend dog, and she was my typical experience black mouth curve. She was okay. But she had a son that a friend of mine had. A friend of mine, his name was Josh, and that dog, we just had him out. Like, he didn't know what he was doing, and we thought he just ran into a hog at around maybe 7 months old.
Yeah.
But then he kept just running into hogs. So like he was,
yeah, that's
so
fine.
like,
Keep on running.
yeah. So then I'm like, this dog is hunting. Like, he's striking, finding, and closing out these hogs, and he's not even a year old, and he ain't been in the woods but 5-6 times. He was an impressive animal. And now, of course, a dog like that, not a lot of experience, not a lot of help, got himself wrecked to where he couldn't hunt anymore early.
Yeah. Was he rough? Was he rough?
He was rough, very rough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's the good thing. Like with the two that we're talking about, they're not rough. If they were rough,
so
I would have.
right.
I would have had to put them with another dog.
Right.
The Catahoula of Nathan's and the Kimmer, they're getting a little rougher now. If there's more than one dog there, like, they'll catch when the other dog catches.
Sure.
Stuff like that. And that to me, that's almost expected. But at the same time, as soon as I put my hands on it, I want them to roll out.
Right.
As soon as we get it under control, hey, get you a drink of water out of the creek, roll out, find another one. No standing around. And they're just now getting to that point to where they're starting to understand the relays part of it. And I think it's usually around 2.5, 3 years old for most of the dogs that we run before they really get that going.
Makes sense.
I think it might just be it's probably the way we hunt. Because I know some guys, man, their dogs, they start relaying right off the bat. Ours don't. It takes them a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what your hog population is like there, but like up here, like
sucks.
If we catch 2 hogs, like, we call it a day. We're happy.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, same here.
That's about this. Yeah, it's about the same here. There's certain areas though, man, that if you get there at the right time, you can just wax them. You might catch 10 or 12, and then that might be one hunt, and that's it for the whole year.
Right.
And those places are so hard to find and so hard to get. Which we've been blessed. We do get to go to those places a lot, but like we have to drive. You got to put forth the time and the money to do it.
Right.
Just to take that drive and to put the dogs out there. If we get in a lot of hogs, the dogs do really well because where we hunt, there's not a lot of hogs.
Sure.
So, we were talking about these young dogs and doing stuff like that. On the hunting side, protection side, or any of it. What about the dog's teeth? What's the age that you see is best for a dog where it can really start to perform without worrying about pulling teeth or hurting the set?
So I'll speak on the protection side of things. Some people have the mentality that if the dog wants to work, let him work. Whether he's teething, whether the teeth are not set, whether, it doesn't matter. If the dog wants to work, let him work.
Yeah.
Me, if you bring me a pup, if someone brings me a pup to work and it's teething, I said, what are you going to gain from 2-3 sessions extra that you get in, opposed to just letting them finish teething, letting his teeth set?
Yeah.
Like, I can tell you what you can lose, because I've seen it happen plenty of times. Not most dogs are not going to work through that, or it's going to affect their grips. They're going to be chewy. They're just going to have bad behavior. Now some dogs work through it, but what's waiting 3-4 months? Like, how go home, work your obedience, work your exposure. You got plenty of things to work on. Just ice his bite for a little bit. A dog that wants to bite is going to bite. It's almost like a catch dog. Like, you show the catch dog a hog, and if he's ready or not.
Yes.
You gotta, with a catch dog, you gotta more train. If you want to train more of a style, try to get him on the ear, try to get him hurting himself, but he's gonna catch. That's what they do. And that's the same with protection work. Now, you do have people that just love their dog, and the dog's not that good, and we do our best to work with them and just let them enjoy the sport, because you need those people too.
That's right.
Right. So there's that too. But for me, a dog that wants to bite is gonna bite. You don't have to force them to do it. So I'm on I'm on the side of just give the dog some time, let them finish teething, and we'll work from there.
Yeah, that's more what that's the way we look at it. And like I said, a lot of mine was from the Bulldog world. Is just give them a little time, it'll be all right.
Oh yeah,
like they'll do it.
Right.
I was also taught that, like with the bay dogs in the competition side of it, going to the bay pens. I wound up getting a couple of good dogs that were young, and I was like, well, how often do I need to do this and do that? And they was like, you just bait a 10. I was like, yeah. They're like, they know how to do that. I was like, okay,
they're bay dogs.
Yeah, like, okay, you're going to mess them up, and hey, guess what? That's right. Just don't mess with them. Leave them alone. And the more I bay them and the more I travel with them, I notice they'll make a mistake the longer you do it. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but because I don't hunt them or do nothing like that. Kind of like what you were talking about. I have those dogs there, but I don't do it as much as I was. And so if I give them a month or two in between, or say 2 or 3 months, and then take them, it's almost every time they just go in there and it's perfect. Because they built that want to up, and they're just now. I think they'll be 3 years old this year, so they're just now starting to hit that mentality. The mature mentality part of it.
Sure.
So maybe that'll. I don't mind letting them wait a little bit, but like I said, I was asking a couple guys. I was like, so do you practice or do you what? He's like, shit, they just baited 10. Don't mess it up. I'm like, okay, calm down.
Right. Right.
So. Now on that, on the conditioning of dogs, like working dogs, exercising, stuff like that, is there a certain age you like to start? And is there certain exercises or methods that tend to work better that you could give some of the listeners out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's real dog dependent. As far as the level of conditioning and what you're doing for sport work, some of my dogs, their natural wind is not the greatest. And like, I got a friend of mine, her name is Sandy, and Sandy has a dog for me. And this dog is, a great competitor, excellent animal. And his natural wind wasn't the greatest, but she runs with the dog. She's a runner, so she runs with the dog. Every day she runs a couple miles with the dog. And that dog can now run through everything without, because a lot of times when dogs get tired in protection work, they start doing stupid things or that they normally wouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
Like they start, they're getting hot. Their grips are not as full. They're being a little lazy in the work, or vice versa. They stop wanting to listen. They're just getting frustrated from the heat. So, in that sense, you got to work your dog. What you do to work your dog, you can hand walk your dog in the heat every day, and that can be enough conditioning for what you're doing. Now, I think what's equally and maybe even more important for conditioning is conditioning the mind. So you have dogs that have excellent wind, but then when you show them the work, they just blow their wad in the first 2 minutes because they're so excited. And no matter how good you condition them, and you've seen this in all kinds of dogs.
That's right.
And you condition them and they got great wind, but then they get so excited and so intense that they're blowing hot fast. Mm-hmm. And so that's a reps thing. A young dog will do that a lot faster than a dog that's been on the field, knows what the training field is. As soon as you put it's just like cur dogs. When you put the collar on them, they know they're going to hunt. Well, it's just like the protection dogs. When you throw on that flat agitation collar and you throw them in the kennel, they know where they're going.
Mm-hmm.
And so just those reps, they naturally become a lot more clear. So I think you condition the mind with clear reps, and you condition the body however you want. You can flirt pull the dog, you can hand walk the dog, you can run the dog, swim the dog. I don't think it matters as long as you get out and do it. And like my dogs, honestly, my dogs have great wind because they're on a chain spot in Florida, and they run the chain spot.
Yeah,
they're not now. A lot of protection dogs live inside with their owners, and they live that AC life, so they naturally don't have that. But for protection work, my dogs really don't need that physical conditioning just because they run the chains themselves. Whenever they see a deer, they're running the chain. Whenever they see, a rabbit, they're running the chain, and it's 95 degrees, 95% humidity.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's about as good an exercise as you can get.
Right?
There's no doubt about that. What kind of chain setups you got that you use?
So I run a. Have you ever seen? I think you can get them from Gun Dog Supply. Those stainless steel, like 27-inch stakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just hammer those into the ground. I have a real thick O-ring on them with 2 quick links that I run the red Loctite on the threads with a big old swivel, and then I run a 1/4-inch chain, a 1/4-inch stainless steel chain up to the collar. And depending on the dog, now the ones that I can't afford to ever at any point get off the chain, I'll just run the collar through a double O-ring, a steel O-ring.
Yeah.
And then like the dogs that are either real young or cur dogs, or a dog that if it got off, it wouldn't be the end of the world, I'll run them on a bull swivel and
just on
a bull snap.
Yeah,
a bull snap. That's what it's called. Yeah, bull snap. Now the one thing I say is if you do run a bull snap, make sure you run a stainless bull snap, because those nickel ones will fall apart on you and fast.
Yep.
And then again, if you are running a bull snap, make sure you're checking it, because that pin, I've had the pin fall out on me before. So I kind of change those out once a year just for precautionary. But I don't run. Yeah. So that's pretty much what I run. I do have some axles that I'm going to concrete in for some of my. Again, I have some dogs that I can't afford to ever get off.
Yeah, they can't get off. Yeah.
Right.
What kind of housing setup? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. So housing, I just run. I'm in Florida again, so we don't get bad winters. I have just a regular plastic dog house that I'll throw in hay during the winter.
Yeah.
When it gets cold, but they're under a bunch of like 80-year-old oak trees, so they're all shaded. I won't leave my dogs out in the sun, at chain spot in the sun. It's just too hot here for that.
Yeah, it's the same way with us, man. It's there's a lot of people that they come to Alabama where we're at, and they think that because we're at the foot of the Appalachian Mountains, and a lot of people think it's going to be all nice and cool and stuff. We had some guys come from South Louisiana a month ago, and they were like, they said it's hot. It's hotter and more humid. I was like, what do you mean?
Right.
They're like, I thought it was going to be cooler. I was like, well, no, because there's never a breeze hardly, because we live in we got these big mountains and there's so many trees. It's wooded everywhere.
Stagnant heat.
It's stagnant. And like our humidity is probably not quite as high as yours, but it's going to be 80%, 85%. And it's going to be like today's 100, 108, I think. And it's miserable. And like you said, if your dog's out in the heat, he's going to die if he's in the direct sun. So we kind of the same setup like you're talking. All ours is, we got a certain area in our yard. It's completely covered. It's shaded one end to the other. I don't think there's sun on them at all at any time during the day. Right there where all the dogs are on chain spots. And then we have some off-ground kennels as well. And but that's probably the best setup. I think you would have to have a different setup if you lived up north, where you got a lot of snow and it got cold.
Sure.
But so we run very similar stuff for sure.
Yeah, I have some runs too, but they're not finished set up yet. They're still on dirt, but I need to put some concrete down and get them off there. I'll throw like pups in there or something like that, but it's hard to keep that sanitary. Yes. I really don't use it much. I use it more for if I'm cutting the grass and I got to throw them in there so they're not all banging on the chain because they all want to eat the mower.
Yeah, I got you.
And stuff like that.
So, and I know earlier when we were talking, you said you were kind of pressed for time today. I didn't know how much more time you had or how much further you wanted to
get. I got about 20 minutes.
Okay.
I mean, if you got some more questions, we can run or we can cut it. I'm good either way.
Yeah. I mean, it don't matter. What about like a feed, like your feed? What are you feeding? And go through some medicines, flea and tick stuff. So we got listeners that they're always wanting to know that. And for different areas, like we got a lot of listeners in Florida, a lot. And so if you could, kind of, it would be helpful to a lot of the folks.
Yeah. So in Florida, Florida's a little different than a lot of places because where you get heavy winters, you can stop deworming and you can stop running heart guard and you can stop all that stuff for 6 months out of the year. Where in Florida, you don't, you depending on where you are, so you don't get it at all. to South Florida. Now up here in North Florida, I get it for about 3 months where I can take a break. Because the mosquito population just goes away for a couple months. But I run the most cost-effective thing for me, because I have more than a couple dogs, is to run ivermectin for the heartworm. That's really. I run the sheep drench. I shoot them with an ML. Yeah. Once a month. It's super cheap. $130. What is it? I think it's like a 30. Maybe it's gone up now. Maybe $40 bottle.
I think it's about a year. 40. I think here it's 42, maybe.
Okay, yeah. I think it's gone up some. I don't pay. I just buy. I don't buy it. I buy it once a year.
Yeah, that's us. It lasts forever.
Yeah. Right, and I still have some. I only get rid of it because I'm worried that it might not be as effective, but it's probably fine.
Yeah.
So I run that for the heartworm, and then for deworming, I deworm. I want to say I deworm quarterly, but I usually breed once a year, and then I'll deworm the whole yard then too. So it might be a little more than that. But I use the safeguard for the goats.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that I find to be, it's a fenbendazole.
That's right.
And you can buy the exact same thing that's marketed for dogs and pay 4 times as much, or you can buy it for the goats and get it for a quarter of their cost. And,
that's right.
yeah, run it through the yard.
That's exactly right.
So, yeah, so that, and then now flea and ticks. I've done a lot of different things over the years. Right now, I'm doing something a little different, which seems to be working, but. This is like anecdotal. This is just, I've been running this for like 6 months now, where I take a bottle, that yellow bottle, that Promethean, that Sawyer's, I think it's Sours or Sawyer's Promethean.
Yes.
And I'll squirt a little line of it down their backs once every maybe 2 months. And so far they're clean. But my yard also it's 8 acres, but it's all cut. So I don't have a lot of woods where I get heavy ticks and stuff like that and fleas, but it's working so far. I don't know how effective it'd be for everybody, but before that, I would just buy the the drops. That I forget which brand, whatever brand was cheapest. Whenever I would go in and put the drops on their back. That's always worked for me.
Got you. Do you put anything on the yard itself, like their chain spots or anything? Okay.
No, I don't. If I was going to, because so back in Miami, I had a little more of an issue with fleas and ticks and stuff like that than I do here for some reason, and you'd think it'd be the other way around. So when I was down there, this will help South Florida people. I had a broadcaster, and I would use the pelleted bifin granules.
Yes.
And I would run that around the yard, and I honestly didn't even have to put anything on my dogs after that. I would do that every couple of months, and it'd clean house.
Hell yeah! I think you've been putting out diatomaceous earth mostly. I think it's what we've been using. Yeah. What I say I use that a lot. Nathan does all the work, man. He does the work. I don't.
Nathan, do you like that stuff? Because I've tried it, and I didn't think it worked at all.
How did you use it?
So at first, I was sprinkling a little on the dogs, sprinkling some in the yard. I put a little in the dog's food, right? And this is when I had a flea issue. And then I tried that for a while, and it didn't make any difference. And then I was like, well, I'm just gonna powder this dog, and the dog looked like a bag of baking powder blew up on it, and it still didn't work. So I was like, this stuff sucks, man.
Now diatomaceous.
It's funny because it's real polarizing, because some people love it, and then some people like me hate it. Now, how do you use it?
So you have to kind of use it in cycles. So like if you have a dog with fleas, like give them a flea bath first, of course. And so the diatomaceous earth ain't going to kill the eggs. So it's basically, you ever seen like somebody take a spark plug and smack it and take that piece and throw it through a glass window and it just like blows up? Yeah. So that's basically.
Y'all been stealing cars? What's up? What's this shit, Nate? What's happening? Huh?
So
if you get right in the corner and just bump it real hard, you ain't got to do that. I seen it on TV, Vice Channel.
I heard that.
Me too. I heard you could pull the window frame back and you don't even got to bust the window.
Oh, well,
but basically, diatomaceous earth does that to anything with an exoskeleton. So the eggs don't have an exoskeleton. So those eggs can hatch anywhere from like 3 or 4 days to 14 days, really depending on the temp. It might be like 6 or 7, like for depending on the type of flea you have. But
Right.
so like if you still have eggs on the dog and you didn't kill the eggs, you basically just have a reinfestation. So I was doing it like once a week until I didn't see any more fleas. And like you said, powdering the dogs down. Now I don't put it on their head. If they inhale a lot of it, you can have some lung issues. I always wear gloves and a respirator when I do it. I usually make sure they're not in the doghouse, and I coat the inside of their doghouse so they can get in there and roll around.
You buy, what, a 25-pound bag at a time?
40.
Or 40 pound. Yeah, I mean, it's a big bag. Like, when you go outside, it looks like somebody.
Yeah, and I make sure to, like, rub it down on the dog's skin. Like, actually get it down in the hair, because a lot of times that stuff will just...
It's worked good the past year or two.
I have a couple dogs where they keep getting fleas, but I think it's just like there's residual eggs, and then like you get a couple fleas and I don't really notice them. I miss them when I'm checking them, and then I go out there and it's like, oh, now they got some fleas again, and it's like the same like 3 dogs.
Yeah, I think say it's 3 dogs out of 40,
or more than that,
or 50.
Are you using that because it's just more friendly to the dog system and stuff like that? Is that the reason behind that?
So that's the main reason. It's pretty cost effective as well. And then, like you said, like you can use it to worm with. I don't remember what I think it kills about all types of worms.
All types of worms.
But I'm not sure on the dosage of it. And I think it also depends on which type. And you have to make sure it's food grade safe then. But I use the one from Track Supply. It's in the white bag. And it's got like cows, horses, dogs, chickens, goats. It's got all kinds of stuff on it.
Now, I've read the science behind it and how it works. Basically, it's death by 1,000 cuts, right?
Yeah.
But I've also read that as the second that it gets wet, it's no good anymore.
It's no good.
And so, but then when you put it in that digestive tract, hitting through the stomach, it would make it useless, right? For worms.
It seems like it would, because all the moisture is going to be pulled in it.
Right.
So I don't know. I haven't researched any further on that part because like we don't use it for the natural wormer.
Okay.
We like I said, it's been used for this has been a year or so. That's pretty much all we've used. We try to cut out all the chemical stuff as much as possible.
Right.
You get a lot of dogs with random bumps and lumps, and it's like that's cancer. And everybody's like, "Why do my dogs have cancer?"
And then dogs not having regular heat cycles, and then having dogs that you got 10 females that you bred this year and you didn't have a litter. What's up?
That's like,
let's talk about feed. Now that we're on that subject. And I also want to touch on the heat cycles, because I was actually talking to my buddy. We've been talking about that for a while, and we noticed a lot. It's like there's been an influx of people that have either sterile or dogs with irregular heats.
Yes. Yeah, let's get on that.
Yeah, maybe I don't know what it is. It's all projection at this point, but I will say feed-wise, I feed a Nook Shook. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm super happy with that feed. I like that. I've noticed with some of the other feeds that it makes the yard stink. Like their shit stinks worse than it maybe normally should. And I'm happy with it. I buy it in the pallet. It's more expensive, and I don't have 20 dogs either, so I can swing it. But I'm happy with it, and I know a lot of people that run it and that are also happy with it. What do y'all run?
Right now we're feeding Sport Mix, the black bag, the 2420. I've been having good luck with that. Do some supplementing with various forms of wild game, rice occasionally. In the winter we feed a lot of soup. We make a lot of soup.
You do like bone broth?
Cut up a pig, grind it down, and boil it. So it's kind of like broth, but it's like rendered fat, broth, and then mix it in with some rice. And so it's like just one big carb and protein and fat filled soup.
Well, what we were doing was putting that over a little bit of kibble for a while.
Yeah.
Well, it was more of a broth like you're talking about. We'd go over kibble in the wintertime. And then now, like I said, we started doing that because it's just, it's cost effective. This past winter, our dogs look better than I think they ever had.
And what have y'all changed?
fed just nearly probably 75% venison
Yeah.
Okay.
of deer.
Oh yeah, that's
deer meat. Yeah, like I mean,
yeah.
our deer season is very lenient.
Yeah. We can kill a lot.
We
of
can
deer.
kill a lot of deer here, and
Okay.
so we know.
Oh, by the way, pause that real quick. I started deer hunting 4 years ago. I still haven't shot a buck. So
Come
if
on,
y'all ever want to take me up there, all
Come
right,
on.
we're going. I'm getting up there. I'm getting up there this season.
I'm telling you, we got that now. We got that part handled.
Yeah. Come on.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
All
like
right.
I'm serious now. We got that part, and I'm talking about some nice ones.
Yeah. Okay.
There's
I'll be happy with anything. I'm
well,
from
we got
Florida,
a
so we
private. We got our own little lease. Then, like I mean, there's a 130 to 150 inch deer. They're pretty common. You know,
Wow.
once it gets
That's a
more
monster,
than the high 140s and 150, you know, you don't get as many, but there's a
Sure.
couple that's in the 150s and high 150s maybe. This year, I don't know. We really got to see how they came out and how much
Right.
bone they put on. Last year, we had some really nice deer.
Nice.
And we've been managing it for 3 or 4 seasons now, and we haven't really killed. We haven't taken anything off other than management deer.
Wow.
So we've just been letting them grow and feeding them
So
good.
I want to touch on that raw real quick.
Mhm.
And I didn't realize even good kibble, you know, is not comparable to raw. And
No.
and I didn't realize how big the difference was until one day, a buddy of mine that's actually at a protection thing. He won 200 pounds of raw, and he was in the process of moving or something. He just handed it to me. He's like, "Here, I'm not going to use this. Take it." Well, I had a dog that had been on good quality kibble. Now, not whatever old Roy or anything. It was good kibble, and I switched her to the raw because I had it. And by the end of it, I didn't realize I couldn't stand my dog. She had so much more energy.
Mhm.
She was a different animal, and
Oh, yeah.
I didn't recognize her temperament. And I was like, wow, like all that stuff, that kibble we feed, and we got to feed kibble.
Yeah.
Especially when we have so many dogs.
Mhm.
But they become different animals on
Without
the
a
raw.
doubt.
It's impressive.
Yeah. I think a lot of it just has to do with the creatine levels.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like us. If we eat McDonald's every day
Yeah.
and we
Right.
eat junk food and candy every single day, you're going to feel like shit, and you're going to be sluggish and lethargic and stuff. And even though you don't really seem like you feel bad, it's still going
Right.
to slow you down. And then
Yeah,
if
don't
you
know
get
what
on
you
a
don't
good
know.
healthy diet, you're gonna perform better.
Yeah, makes sense.
But now it literally, and like I said, it made a huge difference this year. I would almost go all exclusively 100% raw, and probably will before too long. Honestly, I just got to get another little setup. I need a walk-in freezer,
Right.
and like that's pretty much the only thing that's holding us back on doing that. And like I said, now it's not just cutting a chunk of meat off and throwing it out there.
No.
We take and grind everything up. We package it. We did the whole 9 yards like that. And
Yeah.
doing that, you can add stuff to it. You can add supplements to it. You can add vitamins to it. If you want to add some creatine or some B12 or whatever, you can add it to that and grind it all up and make your
I
own
always
feed.
like. I think for someone like me, like I don't have access to deer like that.
Mm-hmm.
What I always like to do is I can buy in bulk. You can buy either chicken backs or chicken quarters. I know
Yeah.
chicken backs are heavy on the bone, but you can get the chicken quarters and then get some kind of organ meats and stuff like that. And the cool thing about if you're not doing it down to a science and strictly feeding raw is that there's a big margin of error when you throw kibble in because kibble is balanced and has all vitamins.
Yes, that's
So you
right.
can kind of get, if you just want to help your dog out, especially maybe during hunting season or with just throwing in some raw and without overthinking it, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, that and it's. I had a friend of mine, and honestly, it was one of the best things that I've seen that's been done. When we would go hunting, he fed mostly raw, about 95% raw. Okay, and I mean that's all year long. Well, he knew somebody that worked at a grocery store that had a big butcher shop in the back, And so he would go get the fat, just big packs of fat from pork.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he'd have just pork fat. And so what he would do is he would put it in the little Ziploc sandwich bags, not the big gallon bags, but the sandwich bag. And he would take and have a cooler full of those that were frozen. All right. And then we would go on these hunts and we would leave and we'd get there, you know, like say Friday, and we'd hunt Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There was no dog food ever. Each dog got 1 pack a day of that fat.
Okay.
And let me tell you, those dogs performed better, ran longer. They wasn't running around every day cleaning out or none of that. Like they just had, it just worked. It worked.
Right.
And cause like all us other guys, we'd bring a little bucket or a bag with some kibble in it, you know, to feed the dogs. He was like, dude, he said, I got plenty of this. Let's just try it. Okay. So he was from New York. And so we
always wanted the best thing.
Yeah. And so we always gave him a hard time.
Oh yeah,
but I'm
like that too.
But
because we're Southerners. That's
yes, exactly. And his name's Roger. And if Roger's listening, he knows what I'm talking about. And we'd always give him a hard time. But that honestly was probably the best thing that we'd ever done. And like when we go to some of these bay competitions, we're there for a whole week at a time. And you don't want to feed your dog heavy, but they got to eat. You know, they got to have energy. Because at the bay pens, if you go in there and your dog gets excited and starts to shit, well, then you're disqualified or you lose your points. So what we do is I go to the dollar store or some little food market and I buy the cheapest pack of bacon that they got. The little half a pound packs of bacon, and I'll feed each dog half a pound pack of bacon.
And you like what you saw from that?
Yes, without a doubt. And I mean, they don't act like they're hungry. They perform. And like I said, it's easy on their stomach. They're not lethargic. Right. It's not sitting on their belly.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I guess it's just the fat, you know. But if you stop and think about it, like, look at the guys who run the Iditarod. And
oh yeah,
you know think about the old school guys who didn't have all this, didn't have Inukshuk and stuff like that. They had fish and fat,
fish,
beaver
really
tail.
Good.
Beavers hands down. Beaver and deer meat. I ain't seen nothing that can beat it.
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah, beaver's really good.
Yeah, I don't know anything about beaver.
Well, I got 8 kids. No, I don't know how many kids I got. I got a bunch of them though. Yeah. Most of them are mine, I think.
Yeah.
No.
Man, I hate to cut you off.
Yeah,
man,
that's cool though.
Actually,
hey, we appreciate you.
Get out of here.
Like we really appreciate you being on with us. It's good talking dogs with you. And we'll get back with you one day, and me and you just bullshit and talk about them old game dogs. So.
Yeah, we will do, and I'm coming up there hunting season. So
you better jump in with Miles. Miles knows how to get here. He just he's been here all week.
All right, man. We'll do. We'll set that up.
See you, buddy. Andrew. Have a good one.
I appreciate y'all.
Yep.
Bye.
All right, that's Mr. Andrew Stone, baby. Like that dude right there, Stone Grove Bulldogs. Me and him had a pretty good conversation before we really got started and kicked off, and he was kind of limited for time, but I mean, we still got a good hour or so in, I imagine. And I like how knowledgeable he is on both sides of that, as far as like with dogs. I do like how he didn't claim to know it all, and being humble in it. So that tells you he's a dog man, a good dog man. He's got good dogs, generally. That's what that says to me. So. So if you're interested in some good bulldog stuff right there that you could use for self-protection or catch dogs, that might be the guy you want to holler at. Stone Grove Bulldogs.
I'll have his Instagram link down below.
Yep, we'll have y'all linked up. And listen, make sure that you subscribe. Go to the YouTube channel, click on it, subscribe. Make sure that you download everything. Make sure you like it. Make sure you share it. Make sure you go to all the social media stuff. That way we can keep this thing rolling. Because we got a little bit of steam going. And we need it to turn into a fire. Right? 10, folks, because that's what Ryan Rankin says. Ryan Rankin said we got to get this thing, go to the moon.
To the moon.
To the moon with my guys. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Till the next one, we'll see y'all.
Thank you. Hope y'all enjoyed that episode. Stay tuned for our new episodes every Monday and Wednesday. For questions, advertising, or just to chat, email DixieDoggers01@gmail.com.